love. It's ultimately finding different ways to share the love of Christ, and the internet provides us a great opportunity to do that. So why is digital media so important? Now, this image will seem quite familiar to you guys. A lot of times in society that we live in, people seem more connected to their devices, more connected to the computers than they are sometimes to the people next to them. So increasingly, in order to reach people, in order to connect with people, the best place to reach them is online. So how digital helps us meet needs? Now, just to put this into perspective, I mean, you guys all probably have an idea of this, that digital is huge. So almost 60 million of us in the UK use the internet. In the UK, people spend on average 4.5 hours a day on the internet. And 60% of the UK population almost have an active social media account. So we connect over our interests, and our differences become obsolete. There are barriers to people walking into churches on a Sunday morning. Miriam shared it. People that would never walk into your church building will interact with you online because it's about an interest. And if you say something on social media and you connect with them and it resonates with them, they will follow you, connect with you, and your belief system, isn't a barrier in the same way that it can be in the real world. And especially this younger generation, if we want to connect with this younger generation, often that's the best way to find them. And they are so transparent and open, and you get insights to really who they are in a way that sometimes is difficult to get elsewhere. So in a nutshell, if you want to have impact, you have to be present. And I guess you all know that, that's why you're here. You have to be present on the internet. So here are my 12 tips to help you create a bigger church. So prepare for church growth. If you want to get somewhere, you have to plan to get there. Chances are you're not going to get there by accident. So the first thing you need to do is prepare for growth. So what do you want the internet to help you achieve? What part of your mission is it that you think digital media, the internet, social media can help you with? Do you want to connect with a particular group? Do you want to build community online? Do you want to use it to provide encouragement? Do you want to collaborate with other Christians? And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Really search your heart and ask God, what is it? What part of your mission could social media, could the internet, could your website help you achieve? Because your why will always determine the what. Until you understand why you're on the internet, why you want to engage in social media, why you want a website, it's going to be very difficult for you to decide and know actually what you should be doing. And so, like I said, what part of your mission could the internet help you with? And you want to keep it really simple, because typically the more complicated our plans are, is the less likely they are to be implemented. So keep it really simple, and this is a really basic template. So what type of content do you want to share? Do you want to share insights from your services? Do you want to share sermons? Do you want to share pictures? What type of content is it that you want to share? What method of communication? A lot of times we think of, it's just a website, it's just social media, but there's so many other avenues. People forget email. Now, I love email, it's very traditional, but it's not so much sometimes the method, but the way you use it. So things like email, what methods do you want to use? And really highlight, which ones you do want to focus on. And the frequency. Now, this is very important because you can have the best laid plans in the world, but if you don't have the resources to implement it, then it's going to be quite tricky for you to do. So think realistically, what can you manage? Do you want to start posting weekly, monthly, how frequently? And always refer back to your why. So your what, your how, and your when should always be directly linked to the why you're doing this. Never lose sight of that mission, that goal that God has given you. Never lose sight of that purpose and your overall objectives. And it's not one-size-fits-all communication. So we developed a little model called the church marketing funnel. And it's all about communicating with people according to where you are in the relationship with them. Now, we all have a network of relationships, a network of friendships. And you communicate differently with people based on whether you've known them a week, a month, a year. You communicate with them based on your relationship. Have you noticed that when you start building your website and thinking about content or posting on social media, that very rarely occurs to people? And so if you want to connect with people, you have to talk to them. Yes, social media and the internet is a vast landscape, but you're still talking to people on a very personal level. So you should have communication and content that reaches people depending on the relationship they are with you. So, at the top is your broad-based communication. So the communication that is, targeted at people that don't really know you well. So things like, your About Us page, general information that you might tweet about who you are and what you do. But as you go down and as the relationship progresses, you want to draw those people in and you want to nurture those relationships and take them a little bit further. So then you want to have information, content that inspires people. So you might then start having videos where you tell people a bit more, where you give them a little bit more insight into who you are, information and content that inspires them. So they go from, okay, knowing about you, so maybe when you get to the inspiring content, they start paying attention to what it is that you're doing. Then at that point, you want to engage with them. So it's great to have 1 million people that follow you. It's great to have, 10,000 followers on Facebook, but how many of them are actually engaged with you? How many of them are interacting with you? And that's where you have this type of content here. So you want to engage people directly, get them to take minor actions. So that's where you might have call to actions on your website. You might say, visit our church this Sunday, or you might send out tweets of that nature, or why not sign up for our newsletter, or something that allows you to take that relationship a little bit further. And then you really want to connect with them. So once you've got that information, what do you want to do? That's normally a good place to take the relationship online. For example, maybe this is the point where someone goes from following you visiting you on your social media accounts to actually turning up on your church on Sunday. And at the bottom, this is where you nurture, because when those people are in relationship with you, it's not the end there. If you have a church, these are your congregation members. These are the people that, come and they're already supporters of you, they already love engaging with you. Don't forget those people, nurture them. And that's where you do things like you have training courses and you're teaching people to become fishers of men. It goes back to your mission. In the first place, when you started, what did you want to achieve? Because by the time you get to the bottom, you should be nurturing, you should be seeing some results that should be happening. And listen, in Proverbs it says that, a wise man listens. He listens more than he speaks. And it's important that before you jump into social media, before you jump into the social media landscape, you're listening to what's going on. Because every social media channel has a different tone of voice. Listen to what's going on in your target group. It goes back to your plan. So once you've decided, okay, maybe it's young people that you want to target, get on Twitter. Tune into some hashtags, like PremDAC, for example. There's tons, millions of hashtags around views. Find out what the conversation is before you start jumping in. So what issues are on people's hearts? I said to you a few slides ago that young people in particular are more transparent. There's something about the internet that kind of shields us. It makes us a little more honest. It's funny because, before you get into social media, you think, well, gosh, you're sharing everything for the whole world to see. But once you're on social media, there's a freedom that comes from it. And people begin to share. And you begin to see, if you listen close enough, you'll see what's on people's hearts. Where can you help and add value? So it's not always about, what can you achieve from social media. Yes, ultimately it's about your mission, but, the key to, like we said, the key to church growth is helping people. So where can you actually help people? Where can you add value? What social media channels resonate with you? I just told you a few moments ago that every social media channel has a voice. And there'll be certain, when you begin listening, you'll see, and there'll be one or two that maybe resonate with you and you really connect with. So I'm going to take you through very briefly some of these social media channels. And if you can give me a show of hands, how many of you are on Facebook? Okay, most of you, yeah. So this is the biggest. But if you are an organization or a church, you need a page. Increasingly, because of the sheer volume of Facebook, in order for your page to get traction, you may have experienced this, increasingly you have to advertise. So it can be difficult to really resonate without paying for advertising increasingly. With your personal Facebook page, it's slightly different. But if you have a business page or an organization page, as you should if you are a church, it can be difficult to gain traction. How many of you are on Twitter? Okay, I love Twitter. But I'm a little bit biased. It resonates with me, I like it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's for you. So it's ideal for building online relationships, and you can see earlier on in the PremDAC feed, it said that, you know, we were one of the biggest users of the PremDAC 15 because I love it. It's, you know, I've been able to speak to people before the show, really engage with people and start talking to people, but it's very fast-paced. So you have to be present. And if you don't have the resources to really stay on top of it, it can be tricky. But the mobile app is great, so you can kind of tweet anywhere you are, and it's just 140 characters. I love it. And Instagram. How many of you are on Instagram? Okay, slightly less of you. Again, slightly younger audience. Number one for visual content. If you have some great photographers in your church, or even if not, if you just like pictures, or you want to connect with a younger audience in particular, definitely do think about Instagram. Again, Instagram's great because it's just easy to just, instead of reading, you can just scroll through and see pictures, and that connects. Visuals connect with people. It's that idea that a picture tells 1,000 words. And Periscope. How many of you have tried Periscope? Okay, yes, I'm a huge fan of Periscope and video. I mean, it's great for engaging because people ultimately, you'll know this, people connect with people, and there's something about video that seems real. It kind of makes you feel like you know people. And, you know, there's this whole wave about reality TV. You essentially have your reality TV show. I mean, we're all a little bit nosy. We like to know what's going on in people's lives, and people have a lot of preconceptions about the church. People have a lot of preconceptions of who we are, and so it's a great opportunity for you just to show people, you know, who we are, how we live, an insight into, you know, your life and what we do, and maybe during the devotional time, you know, when God maybe drops something in your spirit, and you no longer have to wait on a Sunday. You can say, wow, you know, and you can share those insights in real time. It's incredibly powerful. And Pinterest. Again, very similar to Instagram, but the demographic is slightly more affluent. It has a skew towards women as well. So if you have a women's ministry or something like that, it's definitely worth considering. I really like Pinterest. For me, I use it for visual brainstorming. If I have an idea or want to hash out ideas visually, I use Pinterest. So, you know, find out, have a listen. The ones that you haven't tried out already, try them and see which ones actually resonate with you. So use social media as a growth tool. So 90% of success is showing up. A lot of people say social media doesn't work for them. But how often do you show up? A lot of times it could be discouraging because you're tweeting, you're Facebooking, and you're not getting any engagement. It's like, just what's the point? But when people see your logo or when people see you constantly in their streams, repetition is a powerful thing, so stick with it and show up. And if it's not working or what you're doing isn't working, change it, but still stay on there and stay with it, because eventually, you know, something will give, it will break. Continuity and consistency are important. We're creatures of habit. You know, so be consistent, and that's where it goes into your frequency. What can you realistically manage? You know, if you decide, for example, you want to blog once a week, as far as possible, stick with it, because people get used to seeing you in their streams or seeing you online at those times. So, give your way to growth. The Bible tells us that there's nothing new under the sun. Giving has always been the route to growth, and that has never changed. In Luke 6:38, you will all be familiar with this, but it says, give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you receive. So use social